Hey Exiles, how's it going? Back again today with an update on my Stormcall of Trarthus Elementalist. This time we are fully elemental conversion. We got our Headhunter, which really enables the full potential of phys to elemental and adds extra scaling with phys spells. So we have swapped our build over completely. We're using 50% conversion on gloves, then we get 40% conversion here, and 10% conversion here. So we are 50% Fizz, 50% Lightning, and then we use Herald of Ash to add a whole bunch of fire damage. We're still leveraging Bringer of Ruin. Heralds are still one of the strongest scaling vectors for these types of builds, especially since I am now using a Sublime Vision. So explodes are a critically important part of any Fizz conversion Headhunter build. If you are playing a Headhunter build without using Fizz explodes, you are doing yourself a disadvantage. So there are several ways to get this. The most common way is the Crusader Explode chest, but those are expensive, especially to elevate and get craft with good mods. Next, there are synthesized weapons, which are if often more expensive and even harder to craft. And I mean, the lowest level you could go would maybe be Asenath, which does have some amount of utility with this build since we are still going Soul Eater with Coiling Whisper. But you would just need to make up your conversion elsewhere. We are using Fizz clusters with Force Multiplier, and that is because Pride doesn't really do anything for us because we're converting all of our damage to elemental, but the Fizz Explode alone is worth a 50% reservation if you ask me. But then you can get Watcher's Eyes like this that give you double damage, and then you could get your conversion here, you could get a whole litany of other mods. Remember that the auras you get from your Merc work with Watcher's Eyes because it's while affected by Wrath. It doesn't have to be your Wrath, it can be your Mercs. This works with any kind of auras and any kinds of Watchers. So the combo is really kind of busted what you can do this league. So I went for double damage. This is partially because I am not crit right now. The tree is still fairly stretched. So while it is easy, or not easy, while it is potentially capable of getting good amounts of spell crit, I'll actually show you here. You can use things like Bound by Destiny, where you get base crit if you have 4 Shaper items. As you can see, I have 4 Shaper items. You could go Sublime Vision to inflict Brittle Wall Hatred. You would, of course, give up your Explode, so potentially have to get them elsewhere. And then also a Hatred Watcher Eye. So that's like what, 3, 6, 10-ish base crit right here from these 3 jewels. So it's not impossible to go crit, but fitting in the multiplier is hard. Realistically, you probably have to go for it on weapons, but I'm leaning into the Fizz as extra scaling here. So what really enables this conversion and as extra scaling is the Admiral. So this makes elemental damage you deal with hits resisted by the lowest elemental resistance. And since we are of course using a Doryani Mercenary with minus 186 lightning resistance, that means all of our elemental damage effectively works off of this resistance. Now you could of course go lower, but I have a Calm's Binding here. I'm going to try to push this character to 100, so I'm opting for a little bit more defense. And I added a 5th Golem here for safeguarding. To do that, I had to use an Anima Stone, and then 3 Primordial Eminences, which is good. It scales all of your Golem buffs, and one definite upgrade you can do, I mean, there's a lot of room left in this build to upgrade a lot. I mean, but one of which would be going Primordial Bond clusters, minion nodes. You would, of course, need to get Spiritual Aid. You could maybe anoint it if you got a conversion node here instead of here. There's several ways you could address it, but with 5 golems going Primordial Bond is a significant amount of damage. This was just a good 3-stat Megalo I found. Life, AoE, DD, Max Res, can't go wrong. We are still using Corrupted Soul. It's one of the most effective ways to pad one-shot protection. We're getting Life Leech and Conversion. Then we come up here for Instant Leech, so we Instant Leech both Life and ES. Caster Mastery for cast speed while dual wielding. Cast speed still really just the most important stat for any self-cast build, with the open chest Caster Mastery, which is busted and mandatory and good for a lot of the farms I'm doing. Energy Shield Mastery to buff up your Chaos EHP. I am not fully capped, but I'm using Arcane, so I'm overcapped on Chaos Dot, which is I think most of the Chaos damage you run into. We are largely ignoring Suppression. You could potentially get it on gloves and on boots, but I am trying out Aspect of the Crab because, again, I can't use any auras, so I have to really leverage into aspects, heralds, golems, that sort of thing. Arctic Armor, of course. We are a little bit more damage oriented. You could switch Shaper of Storms for either of these to get a significant amount of mitigation, but I do like the damage that this provides, and it makes your explosions feel better. Bastion Developments is just nice. The Elemental Aegis helps with one-shots. Since you're converting phys with the belt on Merc, that comes in there as well. And it's just an easy reflect immune slot. So our spell is now in an Archdemon Crown. This is a pretty entry-level version. I was just spamming Horror Essences, got Hypothermia, then had an open prefix for +1. This could be a lot better. You could get spell crit suffixes. I think it could be really interesting to try to get the Elder less duration prefix with 1 or 2 good suffixes. I mean, I don't know if that would mean spamming, because one's a prefix, one's a suffix, and it'd be really hard to get anything else. So maybe just buy a bricked base and spam horrors. I don't know. I digress. Shaper rings. These are pretty easy to craft, honestly. There's only 3 things you can slam: either flat added against chilled, life on spell hit, or mana on spell hit, I think. I went for the flat damage here, but I'm trying to craft another one with T1 added spell damage. I have one here for sale if anyone wants to buy it. I'll even make it cheaper. Scepters are kind of tricky to craft. I've just been spamming Reforged Phys on the Harvest bench and then doing some recombinating. I'm not a recom wizard, so I don't know the most efficient way to do it, but ideally you would have either +1 or +2 and then added extra or double added extra and +1 prefixes, and then suffix for cast speed, and then the gain phys as random. So this one is essentially like a 4 mod. This one's pretty good. Got really lucky with this. Gloves, you want to get your conversion here. You could, in theory, go something like the cold convert gloves if you wanted to do this like super budget. That would get you pretty far. There's objectively no reason or nothing wrong with going full cold since we're using Admiral. If you didn't want to use Admiral, then you would of course need the lightning conversion, which is why I ended up crafting lightning conversion here. But yeah, if you wanted to, like pure lightning, you could forego Admiral and you could have more options. But since Headhunter gives you all the different added extra buffs, I just decided, what the heck, let's go all in on this. Boots are pretty straightforward. You just get shock immunity, life res, and avoid being chilled. I slapped Crab on here just to test out how that feels. Our biggest threat is, of course, phys hits, but we're mitigating 25% of it with the Merc belt, and then it'll hit the Crab stacks, and then I've got Arctic armor. So I feel like I don't get one shot too hard unless it's a really big slam. We are cursing with Bladefall of Trarthus now. When you're clearing, you can sometimes outkill your Soul Eater stacks because you'll just instantly pop the whole screen with your explosions, and there won't be time for it to hit anything. But if there's a rare or like a big Beyond mob, Essence mob, something like that, that'll instantly give you 45 stacks, and then you're cooking again. And this is also great because it keeps it up at 45 stacks on bosses permanently, so that makes bossing feel a lot better. Overall, it feels really great. It's fast. You just click, the whole screen explodes. You can get some nice chains. We're scaling generic damage, so the ground dot does like a non-zero amount of damage. That's really helpful if mobs have high block chance or there's like proximity shields and stuff. It's not fast, but their health will still keep ticking down. We've got big splashes from Herald of Ash, and then the overkill from the pops. That's more ignite burning damage, which of course gets scaled by Chaos Golem, which is just nice. It's so efficient. Stone Golem of Safeguarding was a new addition. I'm still leveling him up, but in theory, this plus Crab Stacks will be like rather than layers of evasion, I'm just stacking literal layers of defense between myself and the mobs. So if they get through my Elemental Aegis, my minion, and then the Crab Stacks, hopefully I don't die at that point. Plus I'm leeching instantly, so we bounce back pretty quick. There is still a long way to go. I've got a lot of upgrades to make. I'm still not level 100, so stay tuned. This is, I think, a pretty strong 2.0 version of the build that I'm comfortable enough sharing. It's T17 viable. Obviously, you're susceptible to one-shots, so just play quick, play smart, don't stand still. For example, if a exploding essence mob is running at you. But it's really fun. You freeze, you pop everything, you're fast, you got good recovery. How can I forget? The star of the show really is Righteous Fire of Arcane Devotion. So when you're not hitting anything, this will burn down your ES, but as you will see, once it hits your life, it doesn't really do any damage. And when you're mapping with your leech, will instantly keep this topped up. That's really strong. And the fact that it's a more cast speed multiplier is very strong because pair that with Spell Echo. So that's 52 plus 24, that's 76% more cast speed. So that makes every amount of increased cast speed that we get super, super efficient because it just gets multiplied. So Stone Golem, very strong. Cast speed on the tree, very strong. Headhunter buffs that give cast speed, also very strong. And then we don't have any action speed on the character. So once you get those action speed buffs like Acceleration Shrine, which will last all map basically because you have Runegraft with the Warp. Shrines are so free. It's so much power. Borrowed power, whatever. It's a mapping build. Who gives a shit? Yeah, but enough yapping from me. I will play a video of T17 clear, and yeah, you can take it from there. I appreciate all the likes, comments, subscribes. I just love making videos, love making builds, so all the feedback and follows and all that really helps me stay motivated to keep going. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time.
Tight tethers! Straggler strangle!
Repent!
Tight tethers. Take this vitality boon.
I'm of House Kyaxis.
Tight
That should be
tethers.
warning. Choose as you will. I offer no resistance.
A bit of advice. Don't waste a Kyaxan's time.
You fight on. Struggle or strangle. Time bends to my will. Struggle or strangle. Take this vitality boon. Grip of the infinite. Feel the battle. Struggle or strangle. Temporal tears. Tight tethers. Take this vitality boon. I'm bent to my will. Take this vitality boon. Struggle or strangle. Take this vitality boon. I'm bent to my will. Grip of the infinite. Take this vitality boon.
You fall short of his mercy.